watch or listen.
Hey guys, we had the very unique opportunity of filming with Blurry Creatures, a little collab. So we got to film in their new studio. They're now on YouTube, video form podcast, Blurry Creatures. This whole episode is filmed in Blurry Creature Studios. Shout out to the whole team that filmed it and edited it and let us post it on our YouTube. But make sure to go to Blurry Creatures YouTube and check them out, subscribe, and don't make fun of the fact that I peed so much. I peed a lot, didn't I, Ada? Yeah, I did. It's because I was nervous. I know, I pee so much. She gets it. All right, guys, check this out. Roll intro.
Ninjas are butterflies.
Did I say ninja? I meant
The butterfly is no doubt one of God's most beautiful creations.
I said empty your mind.
You learn martial arts!
Ninjas are dead!
Hello! Welcome back to Blurry Creatures. Luke, we're not starting a band, but, you know, here we are in the basement. How you feeling?
Oh, you know, back in our era, a lot of bands started in the basement.
That's right. This is where you picked it up, played some hits.
Yeah, you weren't like pushing buttons and doing electronic guitar sounds and electronic
I
keyboard.
can see you, Bigfoot shining in the sun. You know, we have, we could put out some albums. We could put out an Blurry album.
Well, I mean, is it better or worse than Summer Snow? Your first band,
Backstreet Blurries.
Backstreet Blurries, dude.
We're excited, but we, who's our guest today? We got some guys.
Oh, it's
that,
good to be back in studio. Do we have a guest?
I don't think
There's
we
nobody
have
here
one.
yet.
Well, hopefully they come through the
Mr.
portal.
Rogers, Mr. Henry,
Oh!
we went out to collect all the eggs, but the coyotes stole all of them. They were all gone. We don't know what to do no more.
Hey, are
Whoa.
those ninjas or butterflies, guys?
Can we come in?
Come on in.
Come on in.
Yes. Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome, Ninjas or Butterflies.
It came through
I think
the-
Andrew's taking the elevator.
Yeah, he is.
Andrew's here?
Here. Well, I'm going to give it to you.
Andrew can make it.
I think you guys are known for playing songs, so here you go.
There he is.
Dude, Andrew slept in here underneath the set, so
Yeah. Andrew spent the night last night, and we
tucked
played
in.
Duck Hunt till about 4 in the morning.
in a basement with a window, huh? Must be on a
Well,
hill.
these guys couldn't come over. Their mom wouldn't let them sleep over. So Andrew get the high score for Duck Hunt. Never seen anybody do that well.
I looked at Nana and said, if you ask my mom, she'll say yes, but you have to ask her first.
Well, welcome to Blurry Creatures podcast, Luke. This is awesome. We were in your guys' studio down in Florida. We wore our party shirts to invite you up to Tennessee to do an episode live and in person.
I missed the memo, but dude, look at this studio.
Yeah, dude.
It's so fun. The Pizza Hut lamp is definitely the cherry on top.
Screen.
Yeah, it is crazy.
You guys want to eat some Doritos from '85?
That's
Got a
right.
couple bags, all
Yeah.
right?
That's
Make
right.
it botulism. It's okay, though.
Make
It's
it-
all
It's a
worth
good
it.
way to go out. So how my father went
No,
and how
guys,
his father
we
went.
did an episode in Florida, then we did one with you
Yeah.
guys when you were here in Nashville last time, and we've become good friends. You guys just did a little cameo in BlurryCon with
Heck
us.
yeah, dude.
And
Which is a successful.
I was telling you, I love what you guys do. I mean, I think Nate and I have, with Blurry Creatures, we have like a lot of academic conversations. People who've written books and make films and stuff, and made films, and it's very much like teaching and academic. But I love what you guys do so much. I was telling either Josh or Andy, about Andrew, one of you guys at BlurryCon. I was just like, I love it so much. It's so fun.
Yeah.
And you guys really resonate. I mean, you guys, not to toot your horn for you,
No,
but
toot it.
Please.
yeah, I mean,
We're all for
you know,
toots.
more than a million subs on YouTube. You
Yeah.
guys your reels go viral, and you guys have
You're
a lot of
crushing
fun.
the real game.
You guys have a lot of
gentlemen.
fun talking about everything from conspiracies to doing songs and
Poop stories.
But what's cool is that you guys are Christians as well, doing this comedy thing. Number one comedy podcast in Barbados.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
I have a
Still
sticker.
standing.
I've got a
Still
sticker.
standing. Let's
So
give,
welcome.
Shout out to Barbados. We know you're watching.
Welcome to
whole
the
country.
basement. You know, we've been told, the rumor is on the streets on the old neighborhood streets with all the kids and the BMXs that you guys prepared a song and you're ready for this.
Do we?
I mean, I didn't know you necessarily needed a song.
Oh, we
but
always
I mean,
need a song,
We could
Andy.
come up with something.
Is there a guitar around here?
Do you have a
think
guitar?
there's one. We got one over there.
Yeah, there was one in here.
Sorry, I hit your microphone.
Should be electric guitar in here.
Mary Poppins, please.
We're ready.
We don't have
for
an
it.
axe
Oh,
in
wow.
here.
You had a guitar.
And for those listeners back home, they
found
played
it.
a song for us when we came down, and it was one of the best things, one of the best moments of our podcasting career. So thank
It
you.
really was.
I'm ready.
A lot of people are saying that.
Hopefully.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying
And then
that.
we figured out who Andy's dad was. It was really a monumental day, I think, for
It was a big movement for everybody.
Yeah.
And moment.
Absolutely.
And you guys are
moment. I think that's what I was
Florida.
trying to say, but I don't know why I
Moment.
said it with movement.
there's a moment that began a movement. Yes.
Yeah.
You guys are
Absolutely.
in North Florida. This is a little Miami, but hopefully the party shirt is acceptable.
Oh, it's working.
Okay.
It looks honestly
working
looks
for me.
like
Miami.
Tom Selleck.
Tom Selleck, yeah.
It looks like the Tom
Selleck.
Selleck.
I got a stash, but it's hidden.
It's
You got
in-
the chest hair too. I've
included.
To prove it, I
You've
get
seen it?
Yeah, I've
You
seen
look
it.
like
Your
if I
stash is
walked
like
up to you,
your
like,
stash
are
is
you
like
a
batteries
cop?
included, dude. It comes with
I am.
the beard.
Secretly.
Yeah, you're not supposed to say that.
Oh, shoot.
But legally you are, right?
All right, guys.
Yes, legally.
Either
Thank
way,
you.
we wrote this song 1 hour ago,
Yes.
and it's gonna get flagged
Please.
probably.
It's going to get flagged.
Yep.
Okay.
So say goodbye to your YouTube podcast.
What is the
now.
flag?
Good thing we don't really have
In
one right now.
1985, there was... That's just like the thing off the back of your bike.
Yeah,
Is
it's a
this
green
like-
flag for most
Okay,
part.
green
Yeah.
flag, all right.
It's something communist related.
Yeah, most likely.
All right, yeah. We'll
Welcome to the Blurry
we'll
Basement,
see what
officially.
we can do.
Yeah, we'll put something together.
Yeah.
We're fine. Enjoy this.
Oh boy! Guess what got flagged, boys?
No!
Our song! Darn. But you can still listen to it on Spotify, Apple Music, and Patreon. Whoa! It scared me a little bit. So go watch it there, or listen to it after you watch it fully on YouTube, because it really helps us out. Yes. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, love you. Bye.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Clintons.
Yeah,
Give it up.
Yeah, that's more of like a whole. Like Clinton's is
Yeah,
like
yeah,
a more of
yeah.
a label, an
We're not,
umbrella of sorts.
obviously, we're not talking about
It could be
Hillary.
the
specific.
specific
too, actually.
Clintons. No,
Yeah,
of course
yeah.
not. This is
It's
like
a different Clinton.
It's a genre of
that's a race
people.
of cryptid, actually. Brandon
Yeah.
Flowers approved. Thank you, Brandon, for the use of
I
your
said
beautiful
my
song.
coals are toes. That's what I messed up on.
coals
I
are toes.
I froze.
That's how we avoid some IP violations.
Yeah, that's just perfect. Yeah, that. Well, good thing they messed up. You're okay. Me too. I a little bit.
I'm like,
I-
that was a song.
Well, that's a beautiful segue because, you know, at the heart of all the conspiracy theory is the name Clinton usually there. And we could kick it off with some conspiracy theories here
Let's dive
in the Blurry Basement.
We're ready.
And what have you guys been researching lately? What has been, you know, just burning in your heart to talk about? What are you feeling?
Dude,
How does the ninjas get their content? Where does it
TikTok.
go from there? TikTok. Okay.
Please don't ban TikTok. We'll be bankrupt.
I've been watching the Graham Hancock,
Yeah.
the second season. We talked about it, whatever, 2 episodes ago.
Yeah,
Ancient Apocalypse.
Ancient, yeah, that
on
one.
Netflix.
Yeah.
And
With
the-
Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, that was so random.
probably-
wasn't
Isn't it?
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
probably his second best work next to Point Break, if we're being honest.
They're
It's,
standing up on a cliffside. Like, it looks like Peru.
Does he just teleport there or
They're
show
just
up?
talking. There's no context
That's-
why he's there.
It is funny though, because all of
Yeah.
a sudden it's like I don't know what Keanu has to do with this, but he's like,
Yeah.
you know, Graham.
No, he's trying to get us
That's
out of the, he's trying to get us
crazy.
out of the Matrix, guys.
Yeah.
That is so funny.
That's what
That
it's
is like
about.
the most random person just to
Agreed.
show up.
Agree.
Hancock talked about it outside of like the event, but he was saying like he had conversations with him forever about this stuff, and he invited him out to be a part
Yeah.
of this thing. And so I think the depth of why he was there wasn't on camera, but it's like they have deep conversations. I'm only episode 2, so I'm hoping for an appearance, but don't spoil it, Josh, if I don't get to see Keanu again.
It's
No,
gonna be
he
funny.
He pops up every now and then.
Okay.
Spoiled.
Yeah.
It's gonna be funny when we have like Matrix 3 come out, and it's gonna be, or whatever Matrix it's gonna be, like
Graham Hancock's
yeah,
in
and
it.
it's gonna
You know, we're
it's just
just-
based in like the Holy Land or
Or
something.
better yet, it's like, and then Graham, he's like, we traded for this, and Graham Hancock's in the next Matrix, whatever.
Hey, you know,
Absolutely.
Keanu, he was built to follow the White Rabbit, so you know he's going to go down those rabbit holes. He's going to figure it out.
No,
He knows.
I dude, as long as Keanu's down there with us, I don't care. As long as
Keanu,
Keanu's with me in the rabbit hole,
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm safe.
What do you think about it though? What about it? Where's your brain at?
The rabbit hole?
Or
No,
Keanu.
Keanu. Ancient Apocalypse.
Graham Hancock.
Anything good?
Well, I love
was it worth
yeah.
watching?
Yeah.
We talked about it a lot, but like the monolithic wall. You guys went there, right? In
Yeah, we were in Peru last
the
year.
Inca
Yeah.
stuff.
Well, it's
Yeah.
not Incan.
Yeah.
Even in the
Inca.
show they
yeah,
talk
he
about
talks
it.
about that.
Like from a whole, like what are your thoughts on Graham Hancock? Because I know I have my thoughts. Like it's.
I have my thoughts.
I'm gonna
By
wait
all-
for you
by
to
all
share.
means,
No
Josh
one else
Hooper.
has your thoughts.
I'm gonna
Josh.
wait for you
It's
to
a
share your
repeti-
thoughts so
yeah.
I can.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
said it before, but like, he's so close
Yes.
to being able to connect all the dots, but he's not putting in the spiritual aspect of like, maybe the wrong spiritual aspect, I would say.
Yeah.
And it's just like, dude, if you just were to, you don't have to believe it, but just look into like the Book of Enoch and just these ancient civilizations that are talked about in Scripture.
No, Hooper, I'm with you, man.
Which
What I
one?
think
Which
is
one,
fascinating
Andy?
about Graham is that, like,
Blurry Creatures.
like you said, I think he's like 95% there, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you're not familiar with Graham Hancock's work, there are now 2 seasons of what's called Ancient Apocalypse on Netflix. This is, for a lot of people, this is their introduction to Graham and his work, and he's been doing this for decades. And,
Yeah.
and his whole thing is he's a journalist, but he's an alternative historian, is what he calls himself. And what he believes is that the narrative we've been told about history isn't true. And I think maybe all of us sitting here would say that's a fact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he gets almost all the way there. What he talks about is an ancient pre-civilization that survives a cataclysm, and then his whole way of sussing this out is there are these enlightened travelers that show up and they teach mankind civilization. Graham is not.
What does he call those people?
That's exactly what he calls them. He calls them these enlightened travelers. They're from this pre-civilization, and they show the survivors of the cataclysm. They show them how to do civilization. And what's interesting is Graham doesn't talk about the Bible. Like, that isn't. He talks about it in the sense of the Bible backing up his claims in some of these
Yeah.
places, but he doesn't go that direction, right? And what
Well,
we
a lot
know,
of those guys have like a reverse. They sort of put like
Well, I
the
think
God
he
of
grew
the
up
Bible
Catholic,
as the enemy.
and
that's the problem.
But they kind of reverse it though.
but I mean,
yeah.
It's like the God of the Bible is the enemy, and then Satan's here to like.
I'm not sure Graham
liberate
goes
us.
there as much as he's got this idea
It's the word on the street.
of the it's like literally the Watchers, but he won't go to the Watcher standpoint,
yeah.
right? It's for us. I know we ascribe to the biblical narrative, right? So you have Genesis 6, you have Watcher angels. Book of Enoch really expounds upon that. Where you have these angels that come down and they teach, even the Bible, they talk about they teach humans civilization, right? Whether it be how to make weapons, how to animal husbandry, and we can go could go a weird way, but that's just essentially how to break and ride horses and have agriculture, how to kind of roots, pharmakia. These are the things that come down as technological trading, right, with humanity. And so I love about 95% of what he does because he's on it. He goes, and what you're talking about is he goes to these megaliths, whether it be Easter Island or Peru and in Cusco, Greece, Sardinia. You have these places where the construction, this is what Nate and I talked about when we were in Peru with Tim Alvarino, the older construction is better. And it's very obvious that they've built on top of with
And
worse
wacky
construction.
and wild. I mean, you look at it in person, just doesn't make any sense. Some tiny stones, and then sometimes you have these little slivers in between these incredibly crafted megaliths. And I think the thing that I always think is interesting is, where did they go? All right, so you believe in ancient aliens. Where did they go?
yeah.
How come they were so involved, and then just one day they were like, we're out. We're gonna go somewhere else. Like,
Do they change their strategy over time? Like, because our world changes, they have to change as well. They have to adapt
Well, could it be
their
that
interactions with us.
they were taught, these Watchers taught this way of doing things, this technology, to the humans, and when the flood happened, that knowledge was completely lost. And that's where Graham Hancock, that's where his idea goes.
100%.
But he's not connecting it to the biblical source.
Right, we would call it the golden age, right? This idea
Yeah.
when the gods walked with man, and right, you had the Nephilim, you had giants. Graham's not big on giants either, so he has these little holes where it's like I picture like a jigsaw puzzle where Hancock's put together like 95% of the puzzle, but he's lost some of the pieces, and some of these pieces actually show you what the whole picture looks like, as far as I'm concerned.
yeah, because we believe there was a judgment that was handed down.
Yes.
That's why they went away. There was a judgment.
Yeah.
And if you don't subscribe to an ultimate judge, then you have to kind of come up with these wacky ideas to say, well, where did it go? Went under the, we don't know where it went. They got in their spaceships and they flew away. There's kind of these cosmic answers that are spiritual in nature. But I think that as Christians we subscribe to, there was, they were locked up. And so they're waiting a judge. They're waiting their time. And that's what the demons talk about. It's not the time yet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude,
So when is the time?
That's really interesting. I didn't realize he wasn't big on
150.
giants, because in the second episode of the series, they're looking at the murals on the walls, and they're talking about, like, these were painted with, immense intent, had to mix with resin.
Right.
There was like a technology, but then there's a clip, and I know Josh saw this too. It's completely undiscussed, but one of the hands in the mural is 6-fingered.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, we just blasted past that.
Those become problems then, because you have to point back. This is the whole thing. We made a joke at BlurryCon with the giant skeleton, which actually caused quite the.
Honestly, shame on you.
Franklin moms love the giant
the
skeleton.
I was
Moses
hoping we were
Franklin
gonna get to
Facebook
that.
page was not happy about there being giant skeletons, but the idea
Yeah.
is that there are this is part of the cover up, if you will, because we've done this ad nauseum, Nate, and you guys have talked about it on your show as well, that there are countless, if not thousands, of stories that of people digging up giant bones, and then through every culture, ancient culture, civilization, there are stories of giants and there are depictions of giants. But this also
why is
becomes
Graham so
taboo.
anti-giant, Luke? What happened to Graham?
You have to ask him.
Ayahuasca.
Could be that.
That's my theory. Is because he grew up Catholic and then he left the church and became atheist. But then I think he's maybe agnostic now. But he talks about, he does ayahuasca regularly, and he always talks about this serpent entity always like wrapping around him and like by giving him knowledge and like all this weird. And like if it's the serpent, if we're talking about the serpent,
Right.
like, I mean,
Yeah, I don't know a place where that isn't like something
Ominous.
or nefarious, right?
The Red Cross, the 2 snakes going around the Red Cross.
That's from, though. You know where that comes from, right?
Let's not talk about it.
That's Moses.
That's fine.
No, the symbol,
Stop,
the
Luke.
symbol for medicine actually comes from the idea of what Moses holds up, the serpents on.
Which is interesting.
It's very interesting,
and I feel like that's very
it heals
positive.
afflictions, which is a weird
Ancient
part
signs,
of the Bible. We
ancient
don't.
signals.
talk about your theory that you had with NASA and going to the moon.
Oh, I mean, like,
And I'm gonna pee.
The whole idea was
Let's just leave it mid-episode.
This is what
this is Ninjas and Butterflies, dude. It's twice the time.
You're gonna go look at the notes,
But, I
and then
mean-
you're gonna come back and you're gonna cheat. I know it.
The idea is if someone if we're given knowledge, can knowledge be taken away from us? Like if we're given access to a certain amount of knowledge, like say the moon, like the whole concept was the moon landing. Like we say we lost the technology, and it's like, how was that even possible? But if we are able, like if that was some type of ancient knowledge that we were given, was it taken away where we don't have access to it? Or is there any other like possibilities of that in our time where they were given it and then they were taken away?
And it brings up the question too, when we talk about knowledge being handed down or given to, it's like, what does that education actually look like? You know what I mean? Like, is there like a
there were classes.
That's
like
what
pottery classes.
Yeah. And difficult classes like spin classes and stuff.
Are you gonna fight me right now?
I think
You just took. Okay,
I feel like
fight me.
I feel like a lot of knowledge is just lost. Like, I mean, you dig through some of these estate sales and you see these old tools and you're like, what does this thing make? And you look back and generations before us knew how to do incredible things. And so I think some of it is just natural. Obviously, you had slowly over time, you had the brain, maybe the blurry brains of the giants were just slowly turning back to normal, because a lot of these genetic anomalies, they say, came from interbreeding. So the giants would want to breed with each other. They would get weird, the elongated heads and 6 fingers, and some of that stuff was like they wanted to stay in their own bloodlines. So maybe some of the genetic deformities are from that. That's why you see the 6-fingered cave drawings or whatever. But I do think that there was probably some sort of exchange, maybe telepathically they could communicate. This is what you do. And when it comes to the megaliths and stuff, they say that a lot of them had this knowledge to how to like shape the stones, soften the stones, put them into place. I don't know how they lifted them.
Yeah.
I think acoustics is the answer to that. They tapped into it, but they could also soften the stone, and then they would sort of cool in place, and that's why you can't get a hair between the stones. So when we walked in downtown Cusco, I mean, you're standing there looking at these rocks, like, okay, maybe if they had some technology to soften the stone, makes sense, but why? And how do they lift them into place? These things are massive.
Yeah, and it's on mountains, right? Like these are like mountains.
Up in the mountains, there are more, but this is down in the city. The walls of Cusco in downtown are these megaliths.
Yeah.
They've been there for thousands.
What did they say? The biggest stone was like 10 was it 10,000 tons or something? 10 tons? I don't know.
The biggest,
10 million
biggest
tons.
megalithic stones. I think it's the stone.
No thanks.
Don't be started.
Those are the. I think those are the foundation of Baalbek. The stone
up
of
on
the pregnant woman is like. No, that's in.
That sounds like.
Is that in Greece, Luke?
Curse.
Well, why?
Baalbek.
It's in Turkey.
Why are
Well,
they
where
closing
is-
Machu Picchu down though?
What?
You see that they're closing Machu Picchu down?
Yeah.
Like in 2026, I think it was.
I don't think it's for anything nefarious. I think they're actually just trying to like
preserve it, which is
preserve
great.
it.
But
Yeah,
like
because
it
there's
does seem
much-
weird.
There's so many people visiting, so much traffic there that like you have these ancient structures. That's another one that's interesting though. Like even at Machu Picchu, the Incan tradition, the knowledge passed down is that they found it. It was the abode of the gods.
That's
And there's
like
dirt- it's
that's
very-
recorded.
Yeah,
like
it's
that
very-
they found it.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's some big ones
I
in
didn't know
John
that.
Tambo. There were some. They look like basically buses kind of put together, and they have these little slivers.
Oh, you're talking about the
Yeah.
massive. I mean, Sacsayhuaman is the one that has these insane that weigh more than anything.
Those
and
ones
some
are
of them
like
moved and
giant puzzle pieces, and they're massive. So you have a smaller version in Cusco, and then you go up the hill a little bit, a couple miles, and then you have them at Sacsayhuaman, and then you drive a couple hours, then you go to Ajante Tambo, and they have the big steps, the terraces, and then they have these at the top. Yeah, it is kind of on a mountain, a small mountain, but why would you build it up there?
How do people justify it? Because like, okay, cool, that's an idea that you want to have in a really difficult place, but how do people justify it? Was it slavery back then? Because I know they could say like, oh, this is how we moved. We could easily show how they moved things back then, but it's like, but why?
Well, they have a story.
Like, why would they do that?
In that documentary, they talk about the stones that they have in Peru for these big walls. They had to go over the mountains to the ocean to get it. And there's this one story they're doing like a 20-ton stone, carrying it over the mountain. Or no, it was like 10 tons. But there's 20,000 men trying to lift it over. But then it slid and it crushed like the majority of them. But then there's like, okay, but what about the other 1,000 stones that are that exact same size?
That's always the problem, right? And we were when we were at Ajante Tambo, when Nate and I were there with Tim and our crew from Blurry. You can sit up on this big mountain. This is always the thing too, is like the most impractical of building is they're moving these megalithic stones that are just tons and tons up on top of a mountain. Machu Picchu is on top of a mountain. Cusco is higher. It's on top of a mountain. And these stones aren't like, usually they don't quarry them right next door, right? In fact, at Ajante Tambo, you can see, they claim, when you're talking to a tour guide there, you can look across
the Temple of the Sun or whatever.
Across the next valley, and you can see these,
they quarried some?
these places where rocks were supposedly rolled down the hill, and they still are you can see it on the mountain. It's torn these roads in the mountain, but it's always the why. Like,
but I think
it's an insane amount of effort. It's like the pyramids. This is an insane amount of effort.
That's why I went to slavery, because I'm like, did they have slaves at this time where like they had workers where it's like, you make my dreams come true, or is it the opposite? If it's like, is it something malicious? Is it like, or something bigger? Is it giants?
But if they had slaves,
technology,
they had a foreman that was like that, and someone writing the blueprints and saying, "This is what I need you to build." What I think more happened is, if we speculate a lot here, is that I think that the megalithic temples and some of the structures and things they built, they ripped them off from heaven. I think if there are mansions in heaven, how are they built? So they brought that technology here, and then you have the OGs, the original demigods, the original half-breeds. They could build perfect structures, and I think they got that idea from heaven itself.
Well, from their fathers, right? From their angelic fathers that would have lived in the heavenly realm. They would have lived in heaven. And
so
we talked about this with Tim at BlurryCon, and actually the Q&A actually was very fascinating. You guys hadn't come to town yet because you were there on Friday, but there was this idea of like, what are your thoughts on what heaven is like?
Yeah. And so they had they kind of had that idea, but then like, imagine like, you inherit this technology and you know how to do it for a while, but it sticks around. These rocks stick around for a long time. And then a couple generations go by and they're still trying to emulate what they're seeing here. Yeah. The same thing goes with elongated skulls. Some of the, beings had elongated skulls, and then humans were trying to emulate that because they were seeing them walk around.
Interesting.
And you could imagine,
that is an interesting
you could imagine they are they are a superior species. So you want to emulate that and look like that. You want to be like the gods. So why else would you take a baby's head and squeeze it and do it? So I think that, and turn it into this like almost like original 80s alien looking head. If they cry too much.
If they cry too much.
Like, you know, and
They
so
stopped.
the same thing goes with the technology. They're seeing this ancient stuff and they're like, we got to emulate this, but eventually it gets crappy. So you can see almost 3 eras of construction in places like Cusco. You see this original megalithic foundations, and then it gets a little bit less cool, and then it turns into like basically stones chiseling together, and like they didn't know how to do it at a certain point in time. So that the knowledge does get lost. And I think you can apply that all the way across the board, so there was a golden age of information, and then it just goes down until it's like, you know, the old aluminum age.
Well, the conversation about heaven, though, is like, what does the Bible say, right? And it talks about roads and walls and mansions and
so the theory is
grain.
They know, they have pictures in their minds of what it was like there. So maybe there's this crazy megalithic stuff in heaven.
Here's a thought.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Like, I saw the connection you guys made, or Tim made, at least on the pod, just about in Psalm, it says the sustenance of angels.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's like so it really does make sense.
And like Tim is very pragmatic. So we talk about Tim Alberino on the show. He's a multi-time guest on the show, but I would say if you're 1 out of 10, he's 10 out of 10 pragmatic, right? Like he's like, how do we practically talk about this? And if it's grain or bread of heaven, what is that? You reverse engineer it. You go, well, they have to have grain and yeast and what? Maybe that's what they have in heaven. So maybe the idea of the heavenly realm or this place is actually not too different from what we experience here. And that, to Nate's point, would be that if it's an advanced civilization, this is kind of where I think Graham goes but misses. Right, there's this pre-civilization that can be the golden age, but it also can be the idea of these beings and their knowledge of heaven, right?
Because they all build the same structures all over the world. You know, there's been a bunch of stuff coming out recently. There's pyramids in China, and they're trying to like grow stuff on them, and you can't dig into these. So there's these pyramids. All like, well, why would they all build the same things if they didn't have an origin?
Oh, and I would say, remember too, though, that like if we ascribe to the flood, and a lot of people connect the flood to the Younger Dryas incident, right? This is what Graham talks about. What's believed to be a comet impact or an asteroid impact that causes this huge
rapid
thing.
melting and stuff.
Right, but
like
what
that.
survives? So this is what we do. We only know what we know, right? What survives is probably the stuff in stone. We don't have any wood structures. We don't really know what else was out there, or what didn't survive. But what did survive is anomalous now, because as we know, when the Spanish show up in Peru, the Incas are like, we didn't do that. Like, we can't do that. We can't build your churches
they
for
tried
you
to do
like
it, and
this.
They couldn't do it.
Yeah, they couldn't do it.
And if you dig up like, you know, an old Cadillac on your farm and you just have a couple pieces, you're going to come to some wild conclusions. And like, what is this What is this thing that we found here? And I think that
the Cybertruck.
But you can tell.
You
can tell that it's ancient though.
Yeah.
But you just don't know like how ancient and who made it and why.
What do you guys like? It's pyramids that show up everywhere. And I can't remember where I heard it, but someone talking about the idea of the
like
chief.
A scheme.
This is a scheme.
It is. You want to be on top of it.
But if you get 3 other pyramids, and then they get 6 pyramids.
But like the idea of a chief cornerstone, and there being like one point, you know, like that's what Christ is supposed to be, the chief cornerstone, and to the point of if they're emulating a heavenly looking structure. How about that's always I wish I could remember. I feel like I'm ripping someone who I should give credit to.
It's probably me.
It's probably
I think it was, dude.
We can do it right now. Good job.
Well, I'm just thinking, I love that concept of
on.
like these ancient structures are like they're designed of like what was in heaven or what was in the realm of God, whatever that is. And I was just thinking about like the Temple Mount of like the temple in Jerusalem, you know, and like if you go under in these caves, those giant megalithic, monolithic stones, and how they're very similar to all these ancient structures. And it makes me think, this is me just thinking right now, all right?
Yeah.
Bear with me.
Think it
but
out.
like,
think it out.
This is fact.
When God said, what do you want? He said, I want wisdom. He says, I'm going to give you all the wisdom. And Solomon was the one that built the temple. Was he given part of that wisdom, maybe not that technology, but the wisdom to create these mega structures, putting these giant blocks into place? Because, I mean, the Temple Mount, they have these huge stones, you know?
That's interesting. I think there's two ways to look at this. This is just, we have an episode coming out. At some point, maybe out by the time we put this out, but with Dr. Michael Lake, and we talk a lot about Solomon and the mystery schools of Babylon, right? So one of the things, and this is right up your alley, guys, because this is where you guys make your money, and is your wheelhouse. But the secret societies that we see now, the Masons, the Illuminati, these secret societies, they are charged with carrying this sacred knowledge. This is part of what they do. They hold this secret, sacred knowledge. Solomon himself strayed into the mystery school space. He was trying to acquire all of this knowledge. And at that point in time, the ideas of the mystery schools of Babylon were actually real things. They weren't these like recreations, if you will, like we see with Freemasonry, with the Rosicrucians, with the Golden Dawn. There are these different secret societies that hold this sacred knowledge. So there's an interesting concept here. Did he get perhaps some of that knowledge when he asked for wisdom?
Yeah.
Or did he acquire some of that knowledge through the mystery schools of Babylon?
Yeah.
And we see some of that construction, because this is supposed to be, according to them, right? So take it what it is, and the darkness is they're all liars, but they're supposed to hold secrets from antediluvian, pre-flood secrets that were passed down, because they ascribe their quote theology or their mantra stuff to what essentially lines up as either a Nephilim or a watcher angel. These are these people that had these ideas of construction. They had gifts in construction, ways to build that were
like
gifted.
A dope episode.
I think a better way
than this.
A better way to look at these things.
Just go to that episode right now if you're watching this.
Like Christians have a either or kind of thought process on everything. Everything's either totally evil or totally, from God, from heaven, the kingdom of heaven. But I think a lot of these are just technologies, right? And so a lot of people come on our show and say, like, I was saved by a UFO, or I was saved by a Bigfoot, or I was saved by whatever.
Gary Stearman.
Yeah, and so it's like, this is just technology, right? It can be good and bad guys flying around in these things. And there's this ultimate theory that's like, just because I don't understand it, or the Bible doesn't outline these things, is bad. It's all bad. But I think they just had access to technology, and they can use it for good or bad. And the same thing happens with the New Age. They take these ideas that I think are, frequencies, obviously, and they turn them into this like...
Well, they hijack it.
Yeah, they hijack it. So it's not inherently that like
the Nazis.
You should tune your guitar to a specific frequency that is supposedly the angelic angel chord. David had a secret chord.
What's the brown note?
It was the brown note, yes. Can you
Play it
imagine
right
if
now?
that was actually it, and South Park they nailed a lot of things. They nailed it, and it's like David played the secret chord that pleased the Lord, and everybody just pooped themselves.
But playing a chord and then God is mad at you is kind of the logic that a lot of these sort of very strict. So they believe in all these things, but then they're very strict and kind of in their interpretation. And I don't know. I mean, because a lot of people will make claims, and maybe a part of it is deception, but I think it's the practical terms that make the most sense for human beings, right? We are physical creatures. We see this stuff flying around, and maybe they can bend our laws and use technology we don't understand, but these things crash, and the last time we cracked open the New Testament, demons aren't building things that are crashing.
Yeah.
Well, they're disembodied spirits. Well, they don't need. What do you need technology for if you're not physical?
And you have to zoom out and come up with just a better understanding of that whole realm in general. But you guys are kind of like always kind of, tackling different topics
and asking questions about the mysteries. But so in that we talked about the pyramids. You brought the pyramids up. Like, what are your thoughts on the pyramids? What do you think we've had a lot of different people on the show talk about what they think they are for, because I think if you are a thinking person that doesn't just only ascribe to the ministry of truth when it comes to Egyptian archaeology, you realize these just are not tombs. That doesn't actually make sense. They don't look like any of the tombs.
Well, that would be like a third generation
Kings.
use of something. If you dig up a Cadillac and you turn it into a flower bed, you're like, we don't know what this thing is. And then there's like someone that comes along and goes, no, this original thing was this. Obviously, you can't turn the pyramids back on, but it's clearly a machine of some type. And
it's crazy that everyone.
I gotta pee again.
It's crazy that every civilization just landed on the same plan.
So you're hitting your prostate stuff early.
Get some cranberry juice.
He's got 3 days to live. So
it's good he could be here with us.
Yep. This is the Make-A-Wish podcast.
It's a low bar, but thank you.
I have a really weird young Earth theory that's literally about cocked in my head for 30 seconds.
Let's
I'm
go.
going to throw it out there, and you can rip it to
We'll shoot
shreds.
ninjas or butterflies without
If
it.
it's great, you've been thinking about it for a long time and you're writing a book about
No,
it.
if it's great, it's been 30 seconds, and I'm a genius. But no, like,
Writing a book.
so if the world was created young, but dirt exists, how many rings existed in the trees and
Right.
stuff like that. So there is this entire assumed history in the instantaneous creation of the earth. Where do we draw the line at what existed to arrive at like soil is decomposed living matter, right? And so like if you were to study with modern science the soil, you would say these things live to make this dirt. And so, like, where do we draw the line? Could structures of a history that never actually existed, but was created to have existed,
Oh, this is a mind bender.
right? Like
So the idea that the Earth was created with a history built in.
yeah.
That didn't really
Because, like,
exist.
but
that didn't
it-
really
Well,
exist.
a time maybe, but not a history.
What is the essence
Like-
of existence? If it was created with his intention for us to perceive it at some point,
Yeah.
it exists, and the reality,
Well,
God's
you have to
reality
start
outside
talking
of
about time
time.
then, which is
Yeah.
a really fascinating thing because time itself is a
construct of the universe.
It is, but it's out, and God is outside of space and time.
Yep.
So man has really created the idea of time, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the Bible says that to God a day is 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is
Yeah.
a day.
Yeah.
And so you have this paradox that
Yep.
exists, and when it comes to talking about, that's an interesting idea.
Yeah.
It's the Benjamin Button theory. It just started old from the beginning, but it was really young.
I do love the idea that like God brings Adam and it's just a bunch of small planted trees with like bands
but that-
tied down to the
yeah.
ground to make sure it's like, hey, by the way,
Welcome
make
back.
sure to water these because these are going to really,
Yeah, yeah,
they have to take off. Like
And
it's not perfect.
He's got
right
Scott's Whedon feed, and he's like, hey, there's going to be a problem here, but you got to use this
Scott's
stuff. Let's
Whedon
make sure that we,
now. Yeah.
they're not
Well-
a sponsor.
Well, maybe we can go through some conspiracy theories that have come true because I think you guys are often tackling a much broader range topics than we stick in the creature space and the ancient history space, and we try to do a lot of bring a lot of the smart folks onto our show. But sometimes it's fun to get off the cuff, make some jokes, laugh a little bit.
And
9/11, baby, let's go.
Invite
All right,
some
let's talk
not
about
smart
jokes.
people. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. That's
No,
what,
no,
that's
no.
Is
I'm
that
trying to
what you
figure out.
just
We're
said?
equally not smart.
You know how Christ says to have
Doesn't
faith
make
like
me
a
feel
child,
that.
childlike faith.
Yeah, I have the mind
That's
of a
our
5-year-old on a purpose.
That's our podcast.
right.
We're just a bunch
Hey,
of children.
You said you were writing a book a minute ago. Is it done?
Yeah,
Author, Andy?
he's a co-author.
It's a coloring
Yeah.
book.
Okay.
Enoch. We're coming out with our own book of Enoch. So
I think that's a good place to start. Absolutely.
But no, I mean, I think that oftentimes Luke and I scratch our heads in the middle of interviews, like this guy's way smarter than we are. Dropping things, I don't even know how to ask questions about this. Sometimes they just go, but I think that there are some topics we would love to cover that we don't get to cover. So
Let's do it.
Let's
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah. So
What are some wild ones?
let's
Yeah.
talk about some conspiracy theories that have come true. Right. This is where you guys. This
Yeah.
is really your wheelhouse.
MK Ultra. Let's start
You've
with
got
that.
30 seconds
That's a
to
good one.
answer.
We can
Ready?
start with that.
Go.
Okay, yeah. This is so. I've got a list here, and let me tell you as we
This is
preface.
nuts.
As we,
Look at the
as we preface a
prep.
list. As we preface a list of. This is from history.howstuffworks.com. So it's going to be procured, and it's definitely going to have a narrative around. So this isn't going to be like, in my mind, there are a lot of. We've been around since 2020.
Yeah.
If we're going to be honest. So we've seen a lot of things come true that were relegated to conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
Whether it be origins of a virus or
Yeah.
fill in the blank. There's a lot of things in the last
Easy.
4 years.
Murder.
Yeah.
So these are 11, but these are interesting because
Yeah.
these tend to be old. The first is, have you heard of the Tuskegee syphilis experiment?
Yeah.
Start with syphilis. It's
Of
a great
course I
place.
have.
Yeah.
Of course I have. No, I have never heard of that.
So this was in
It's terrible.
1932.
It's terrible.
The U.S. Public Health Service conspired with the Tuskegee Institute to create a phony syphilis treatment program. The experiment, which involved lying to almost 400 African American men who had been diagnosed with syphilis, was only supposed to last 6 months, but it was 40 years later before anyone became aware of the research. The government was forced to investigate and shut it down. For 40 years, 400 men were given dangerous chemicals and painful, necessary medical procedures under the guise of actual treatment. And the fact that penicillin had become a known cure for syphilis was hidden from the patients so they could learn more about the disease.
Yeah.
How did this happen?
Oh, it happens.
But
I
that-
mean, like, what's the purpose?
Okay.
Just to kill people?
They
No, it was
literally. I
just
mean,
testing
this is how we get right. Honestly, these are the things I think that make us distrust a lot of what the government is. And this will always be the knock on quote conspiracy theories, right? Is that it is there's always counter government. Like a government's always lying, and I don't think always is the key. This is where Nate and I always talk about, or tend to talk about, like, you're not lying 100 out of 100 times. This is the reality. People tell the truth, whether it be our government, politicians. At some point, they tell the truth. They lie a lot.
Yeah,
but they don't lie all the time, right? But in this particular case,
that's how you believe them. Like that's how they get.
Well,
to you.
That's the deception. It always is, right? It's always like
he's just telling the truth here and there. Obviously,
there's enough truth included that it feels palatable, right? Because if you get a full-on deception, most times you're like, I'm out with this. But if there's stuff weaved in and go that part of it might be true, and it's believable. So that one is horrific, right? And
that's terrible.
It took 40 years for them to tell these people that they already had
That's so scary.
Well,
so they're just they were just testing something.
Yes.
Say, hey, this is the cure. And they're just like, we're just going to monitor
oh,
people.
you have syphilis.
Yeah.
Come take this vaccine. And they tested it on people.
But they narrowed
they already
African American
people?
people?
And it was African American people, yeah. So it seems very overtly racist at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gross.
On a deeper level, too, we can always say we've always desired knowledge, right? And so we're trying to figure out, hack these things. So that would be the original sort of lust of mankind since the beginning. I want to know more. I want to hack this system.
I just feel like a lot of these, like the syphilis thing, MK Ultra, all this stuff, I think for me, it starts to derive from the Project Paperclip when we brought over all these Nazi scientists that were already doing this stuff. They're already experimenting on people, innocent people, and doing just really, really weird, just sacrilegious,
inhumane,
wacky stuff. Project Paperclip happened, and then it's like it seems like we have all these really weird stuff that the CIA did, including going to the moon.
It happened.
I think there is a narrative that we've built over our show that you can see that there is like the people of countries, the good patriots of every country, right? And then you have this league of nefarious collective of like we were saying, these clubs, these elites that sort of make rules behind the scenes and do all this stuff. So of course they're going to get the best scientists in the world to be a part of that team, and then make it look like, oh yeah, countries are just going on as normal. We have some relations with other countries, and we're all trying to craft this thing. But really, behind the scenes, there's this group of people that get together, pencils up rooms, and really control the world. But how do we know that's true? Well, we're seeing these conspiracy theories one by one come true, right? So somebody behind the scenes is programming reality, so to speak, for the rest of us. So Luke, what's number two?
So that was rumored forever, right?
Yeah,
and
then there was a class action lawsuit in 1974 where they awarded $10 million in damages to people. So they had
1974.
So we're talking, 40 plus years of torturing.
I'm so glad the government learned its lesson. Like that's like crazy.
I
know that's soon. Like that's 70s. But golly, I'm so glad they just turned a page.
They're done doing that, right?
Yeah.
Well, Josh, you mentioned Operation Paperclip. that falls on number 3 on this list, and of course,
what's number 2?
We'll go there. We'll get there at some point.
Hey, hold on.
So in 1945, the Joint Intelligence Objectives Agency was given an authorization to offer 1,500 German scientists, technicians, and engineers from Nazi Germany and other countries employment in America. President Truman agreed to the program with explicit instructions that it only includes those who were not found to have, quote, been a member of the Nazi Party and more than a nominal participant in its activities or an active supporter of Nazi militarism. So very gray, broad brush there.
1,500 Amish Germans that didn't do anything bad.
So this meant Werner von Braun, Arthur Rudolph, and Hubertus Strughold.
Who all did stuff for the Nazi Party, by the way.
Of course. So von Braun architected their entire rocket and missile program, including building jets and everything else that they had ready to go. So this is, it's absurd.
So survey says
ding 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 ding.
True. Guilty.
So this is what. So von Braun, Rudolph, and Strughold were listed as a menace to the security of the Allied forces, would not be allowed. However, as we know, they were decided they had more vital importance to the development of the U.S. rocket program. They created false employment and political biographies and destroyed all evidence connecting them to the Nazi war machine. That's Operation Paperclip. We know that's real now, but at a time that was a conspiracy theory. These are...
And they developed
the fact that it
all
was like
the video games from the 80s. including this.
Their fault.
They built electronic
The fact that
basketball.
Shazam with Sinbad is actually
Stop. It was
never
Shaq.
happened.
Let's
So
not
this
talk
is
about
this
that.
is
It
officially
makes me scared
proven.
every time we talk about it.
This
That's
is
the
true.
Mandela effect. The fact that never even happened.
When did this get certified true? Is it just who certifies these?
The paperclip?
Snoop?
Well,
Snoops?
it's
Snops?
part of it is
Snoops?
The freedom.
it's the FOIA.
Yeah.
The FOIA Act actually changed a lot of.
okay.
And that's how we know, and it's not even on this list, of course, but
Yeah.
that's how we know most recently of the JFK assassination, the involvement of the CIA. We know there was an inside job.
Oh,
But I mean, since the beginning,
yeah, we're really
it's always
going
been like
for it.
one guy from a book depository who
Dude, it's
went to
crazy.
who had a Russian
Yeah.
communist tie once somehow.
Well, there's that video that was floating around about Oswald saying he was a pawn.
Patsy.
It's Patsy.
He's a patsy, dude.
Yeah.
And then Jack
Dude, that
Ruby
was the
shot
first
him.
conspiracy that I just dove down, and I'm like, this
Yeah.
is 100%. And like isn't that where they coined the term conspiracy theorists?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
because like
Yeah.
the CIA literally
It was-
coined that term
right.
to just immediately just like, hey, don't even listen to these people.
It's a theory.
Hey, they're a conspiracy theorist. It's
Chill
not a big
out.
deal. But then we have things like this that come
Well,
up.
it's meant to diminish and mock
Yeah.
and push truth from the narrative. from
Just
the
throw it out.
narrative, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned MK Ultra. That's actually on this list as well. It's number 10. This is something Nate and I we are going to cover in the future because we've talked to a few folks. But MK Ultra is a pretty well known CIA project, a mind control project in the 50s. With the Cold War heating up, the U.S. hoped to discover what is called a truth serum. And what they did is they secretly dosed unwitting U.S. and Canadian citizens with LSD, and they would interrogate and sometimes torture the participants. They paid hospitals, prisons, universities for their participation and their silence. In 1973, CIA Director Richard Helms ordered all documents related to MK Ultra be destroyed. Eventually, the conspiracy was uncovered. Nobody involved in the project, quote, remembered the details.
Yeah.
And there's not a complete timeline as the events remain incomplete.
Dude, so
I
scary.
tend to think that it never stopped.
No. Yeah.
It just changes.
It just
now.
changes. This is always that. It's always the
that was
change.
training and testing.
Yes.
That's all it is. Because there's no way they're not trying it again. I remember hearing a story about a young kid that literally they had stings basically in brothels and stuff like that, or in drug houses, and they would go in there, they would drug these people unbeknownst to them, and then they would leave. And this guy, no joke, is walking home, wakes up like 5 or 6 hours later, blood on his hands, and he had just killed 2 people. And this is all part, like, he was confirmed he was at an MK Ultra house, like where they were doing testing. And it's like he just blacks out and suddenly he just kills 2 people. Like this, like that's
Well, a lot of this is
how
what
is
they-
that possible? Like,
what
We
they talk
all watched Zoolander. We know how this
Exactly.
works.
You learn martial arts. Kill the Prime Minister of Malaysia.
Yeah.
Ah!
But yeah, I mean, it's
prime rib of Propecia.
But I think the main thing that we started with this episode is that this knowledge starts from somewhere. It doesn't just
Yeah, just
pop
appear,
into
yeah.
our heads and we figure it out. And that's a big
It's been
UFO
cultivating.
narrative. It's like, yeah, maybe there are government UFOs. Well, we know there are government UFOs. But where does this technology originate from? Where does it come from? Where does this MK Ultra mind control idea come from? I think there is parts of the human brain that sort of got maybe cooled off, shut down, part of the fall. We're not as up on our game, but what we've learned on our show is humans can receive telepathic communication. So they know how to send a lot of these creatures messages to us. And eventually, we talked about technology, transhumanism, we're going to be able to read minds again. So we're going to be able to communicate without the need of a phone. You can send messages to someone's brain. I don't know how far, but clearly, we've heard it many times, specifically the last episode we were on with you guys, the trapper could hear the aliens communicating with the officers before before one of them got shot, and he was just there and take his story, leave it. But Bigfoot does the same thing. So there's a part of the human, I guess, psyche and ability that we aren't what we used to be. That's for sure. And this technology is there, and we're kind of rediscovering it. / someone's passing us little hints, cues. We're getting little clues from either seances. I think these guys go into these, you hear these these parties that the celebrities go to, and you're like, what is really going on here? What are they conjuring up? People aren't just gathering on an island to screw around. There's like an actual occult practices and activities, and people get sort of sucked into it, and then they get information. They get downloads, or they start all kinds of, I would guess, nefarious things. But it, you know, there is an origin story, and I think saying that, yeah, the government has UFOs is just like, I think that's like step 4 or 5. Like, what happened first? Where did that tech come from?
Well,
So,
I think too, when we talk about MK Ultra, which we were just talking about, like the idea of it changing, right, is fascinating, because we know for a fact a lot of these folks that are committing these, whether it be a false flag kind of event or these tragedies, are end up being at an FBI safe house, CIA, FBI informants, whether it be the people that tried to kidnap Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, or whether it's the fact that the pilots from 9/11 were staying in an FBI safe house, or you can fill in the blank and you go, okay, so they shut down the LSD program, but what did it become, right? Because they're still taking people and using people for their agenda.
Or, even if they stopped whatever was going on, there's still knowledge gained that is on a trajectory, right? And so there's no way someone learns something that they can use for their agenda, and they go, I know this, I got this knowledge, kind of in a sketchy way, I'm not going to use like that. That's not going to happen. They're going to continue that.
There's a lot of the mass shooters too that have
they say the same thing.
A lot of things, like a lot of the same things. Like you look at just the guy that tried, I mean, crazy stuff, right? This is what you guys cover in the show, the guy that tried to shoot Trump.
He had so many contacts in his phone and phone calls,
and no social media,
and we're not talking about it. Like, he legitimately had connections and contacts in his phone to politicians in that state. I mean, I don't want that to anything to be true, but it's like, explain it
in a black
because that does not make sense.
In a black, I mean, but then I start adding these things up, and this is the thing, right?
They always have their
40
guy.
Years.
They always have the fall guy.
Yeah,
sometimes it's 40 years before these things come to light. And so in the meantime, everybody's ridiculed, and in our day, they're deplatformed or they're canceled for suggesting. But the track record kind of speaks for itself. This isn't like,
well, we didn't hear anything about that guy. And if he was successful, we would still be hearing about him. It would be a nonstop 24/7.
I'm so glad that didn't happen, because it was just like legitimately would have been a terrible thing.
Yeah,
it would have been so bad.
Like, suddenly we have all this information about this character. Here's his backstory. Here's who he dated in 3rd grade.
Yeah,
and that's kind of how it goes. It's like they're ready to distract us in the next way. And I'm burning for number 2. What is number 2 on the list?
Oh, we're not even there. We're like on number 9.
Oh, let's go.
Skip around a little bit.
Speed round.
Oh, we're going down.
We're going down.
Oh, I thought we started at number 1.
Okay, so this is a quick one, but we all know the weapons of mass destruction for the Gulf War didn't exist. That's a conspiracy theory that came to light. There's a second one, if you've heard of this, 1990 testimony of Naraya. A 15-year-old girl named Naraya offered testimony to Congress stating she'd witnessed Iraqi soldiers taking 15 Kuwaiti babies out of incubators and leaving them on the floor to die. The testimony aired on 700 television stations in the United States. President George Bush Sr. repeated the story at least 10 times in the following weeks to attempt to sway public opinion towards supporting the Gulf War. The problem is the events described by Naraya were a complete fabrication. The CIA requested Naraya receive acting lessons before she testified. It's also discovered she was the daughter of a Kuwaiti ambassador. And in response to those findings, Amnesty International accused the Bush administration of opportunistic manipulation of the international human rights movement. So they faked a moral thing of Iraqi soldiers killing Kuwaiti babies, in addition to the weapons of mass destruction, in order to gain sympathy for a war in Iraq.
That's a wild thing to come up with. They got a little better over time.
I've never heard about that. That's so
isn't that crazy?
Yeah, terrible.
Well, that goes back to the project Mockingbird.
That's on the list. You're always reading ahead, Cooper. You're always reading ahead, bro.
Hey. You're always ready. But you know what I'm saying? Like, they got a little better at, like, hey, if we're going to go to war, we need to come up with a little something a little bit crazy.
Well, listen,
I can't believe I've never heard of this.
We talk
This
about
is
this with my buddies. It's like every war is about economics. Every war. Look it up. But what they try to do, what they try to do is there's a justification that they have to make a war moral. There has to be virtue within it.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
doing something virtuous. We are liberating people.
That's the whole
we are
narrative.
providing democracy. We're nation building, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But ultimately, they're all about economics.
They've been doing it for probably forever. I
Millennia.
mean, like you look at like World War One with President what's his name? Who's the president during World War One?
What year was that?
Mr. President.
Woodrow Wilson.
Yes. We
Woody.
didn't enter that war forever, but he was heavily influenced by all these dudes like Ford, JP Morgan, like the war industry, right? And it was 2 years, and we were sailing. There's a American ship, and it was in the territory where the Nazis said, "This not World War One. This is World War Two." And he said, "You cannot go into this zone."
Now we're in Harding or Coolidge. I don't know.
I think I'm combining them
No,
a
you're
little bit.
good. Go for it.
Yeah, he was World War One, right?
Roosevelt.
Wilson. Yes, he was.
We're moving it up.
100% he was.
Just keep going. I got more presidents.
But the Germans bombed
Woodrow Wilson.
Yeah.
World War One.
Yep.
Yeah.
28th president of the United States, who also
He was up there.
at one point became so incapacitated his wife was pulling the strings and finally admitted to it. She was making all the executive decisions.
Yeah. And also started a tennis ball company.
So we had a female president already.
Either way, the Germans
De
bombed
facto,
this boat,
by proxy.
Boom.
Yes.
and they used that as a narrative for us going into the war.
It's Gulf of Tonkin. This is not a this was done again.
Yeah.
It was done again in the Gulf.
Yeah, it's like I said. There's a narrative. There's the play. There's the stage. There's the patriots of every country thinking, "Oh, I'm fighting for the good, for our country," and really behind the scenes, both sides are being controlled.
So
It's sickening.
It is.
It's truly something to look out for with this deception of like the future of like our country and the world. Like, what is the narrative that is being painted?
Oh yeah.
And just be aware of it.
Just being aware of it, have discernment.
Yeah.
I think the good thing that we're looking from a high up macro standpoint too is that we live in an information age now where it's very, very hard to control all of the avenues of communication. This is something that was very easy to do back in World War I, World War II. I mean, up to the advent of the internet, it was pretty easy to control the outlets. So the information people were getting was very much selected, and the narrative was procured.
Yeah.
Because you didn't have the access to, and this is also where you swing the pendulum, because then you have there's crazy things out there where everything is a conspiracy, demon under every rock, right? So there has to be some sort of balance in this, but I think it's much harder, and it has to be much more of a.
Well, that's why free speech is on the docket right now.
100%. That's 100% why.
It's like we can't put the genie back in the bottle, so we've got to control all these avenues, and we've got to shut down these websites.
What do you think that's why they're trying to ban TikTok? Is because of the vast amount of information out there?
Yes. Yeah, and they'll put China on that. So there's your virtue for that. And then China is collecting information. This isn't to say that doesn't happen. But I think this is why there's so much vitriol and hate for Elon Musk with X, formerly Twitter, because he's not bowing to their. There's already information about Facebook interfering in this election.
But no, they spent like $500 million to make sure it was safe.
Yeah, right.
That's what they said. They donated.
They said that, guy.
Well, I'm gonna skip around a little bit because we've got.
Where are we at? Number 8?
Well, we've kind of skipped around because Hooper's been reading ahead. Yeah. So Operation Mockingbird, which you brought up, we'll go to that.
He's going out and cheating.
1948, Frank Wisner was appointed director, Office of Special Projects, and told to create an organization that was capable of producing propaganda and engaging in economic warfare as part of a global war against communism. Here's your virtue piece, right? The CIA took control of the office in the 1950s, maintained a secret campaign to influence media around the world for almost 25 years. Wisner owned respected members of the New York Times, Newsweek, CBS, and other media outlets. By the 1950s, there were more than 3,000 CIA employees and dozens of large global media outlets working to maintain a complex propaganda machine. Wisner was always looking for new ways to convince the public of the dangers of communism. Facilitated the 1954 animated Hollywood production of George Orwell's Animal Farm. The Church Committee exposed a conspiracy in 1975 and calculated that the misinforming the world cost taxpayers $265 million a year. I'm not sure what that's worth today, but that's 48 to 75.
Churchgoers exposed that
Church Committee. So the church finds the truth.
So communism is good?
I think that's exactly.
No, but it's not that. But this is always the twist, right? To me, it's like Homeland, right? It's like where we did this thing to monitor. This is Ed Snowden. We did this thing, the NSA, to monitor for terrorism after we had 9/11, but they never turned it off.
Yeah.
Why
and he
would
blew
you?
the whistle.
Yeah. Why would you?
Yeah, it was all set up for that
Because-
purpose.
Right, but what do you? At the same time, it's like it hasn't, as far as I'm
And
concerned.
it always has the most epic name, the Patriot
the Patriot Act. Yeah.
How can you say no to that?
It just tells you.
You're against the Patriot Act?
Are you not a patriot?
But what it seems
know.
interesting to me is it's always done very sloppy. It's
Yeah.
almost like they can't really get away with it ever, and it makes me wonder. I think, and we all love this, guys like do podcasts like this. If God is going to sit us all down and play the movie about how it actually happened and hold people accountable, like nothing is ever in secret, really. It's all going to come out. It's all going to be exposed, either in this life or the next life.
Yeah.
I think that's the hope. It's
Yeah.
all coming out.
Definitely.
You know.
It's like Gladiator. I'll have my vengeance in this life or the next.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I think, and then oftentimes you see and you hear stories about, that one little thing exposed this whole thing, you know. And it's sad because I think a lot of people think this is all, I don't know.
What if it's us? What if we expose the greatest conspiracy that's ever existed?
We could probably
Like,
do
that's
it.
where it started.
Thank you, ninjas
dude.
or butterflies.
Let's do it right now.
Let's do it right now.
You are real Americans, like Hulk Hogan said.
California
Fight
isn't
for your
real.
right. Fight for
But
your
yeah.
life.
Dude, can you imagine going back like 20 years and saying like you're going to consent to facial scans so they can find you anywhere as well as a fingerprint?
But it's for your safety.
Yeah, but you'd be like, yeah, no. And then iPhone comes out and they're like, it'll unlock your phone in a second. You're
It's
like,
really
heck
cool.
yeah,
It's
dude.
really convenient. You should
To
definitely
be
Type in
honest,
my
I was
four-letter
actually
code.
really psyched when that dropped, which is so
But I
sad.
think that's how easy we give up freedoms too.
Well, now it's in the airport. Yeah, they're like always scanning your
Yeah.
face.
It is that though.
It's inch by inch. It's one
just the-
ride at a time.
Yeah. It's the conditioning. It's like just do it little by
Yeah.
little. And you know that's just not like
Future predictions. We should
And,
do
and they're
this
looking
year.
at MK Ultra and they're saying
can
we
do
have
that.
to continue to do this, but longevity, they know the way technology is going. We can't do it the way we're doing it now. So they're planning. Like there has to be thoughts that are like, okay, so we have to push this. What's the name we can put on it? How can we slowly push these people to understand this agenda or whatever it may
I think
be?
Ben Franklin saw this all coming, right? I mean, he has a famous quote, which I love. It says, "Those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety."
Mm-hmm.
also
that's-
here's a kite. I invented
Also-
it.
Invented electricity.
Invented lightning.
Dude, if he would have been here in the early days of Facebook and like MySpace statuses, he would have written some.
I'm like, Chip, don't do it.
That's a feed I'd like to go back through and read.
Yeah, I just it's interesting. Like it is a slow boil, right? And
Was Tesla on here at some point?
No.
Come on.
We've got
What kind of list
The
is
Tesla
this?
stuff.
We've
That's why that
Yeah.
we've
We've got CoIntelPro, which is the FBI against the 60s activists, where the FBI created a counterintelligence program which was designed to protect national security, prevent violence, and maintain the existing social and political order. But in other words, its purpose was to illegally disrupt dissident political organizations with the United States. It was
No
active between
political order, but our political order.
56 to 71. And 85% of the program's resources were spent on marginalizing, infiltrating, and disrupting groups such as women's rights, the nonviolent civil rights movement, the Congress of Racial Equality, the American Indian Movement, and other civil rights groups. J. Edgar Hoover ordered FBI agents to expose, disrupt, misdirect, discredit, and otherwise neutralize the activities of these movements and their leaders. So this has also been proven to be true, even though it was a. And what do you know? It's like I feel like this list is all.
it's very curated.
It's curated, but it's all government lying to us,
Yeah.
and then they actually did this project. Sorry, they were trying to.
This
They
list
want you to have
seems like-
syphilis.
Yeah, well, this list kind of seems like it's so well known now. They're like, yeah, this is the stuff that's true.
Well, this is what they give you, right? This
Yeah.
is my
Right,
point from
right.
the beginning. Is like we know there's a lot more here, but this
Yeah.
is what they'll admit to right now.
Yeah.
Probably because number one, there's been enough time where people who would be super angry about this are either old or
Dead.
have passed dead.
Like
yeah,
JFK. Like
100%.
that's why those files are
yes.
being pushed on so far, because it's like by the time this comes out, you can't do anything about
Right,
it.
it was like,
They'll be
it's like if they
"Our
let
bad."
Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame now after he passed away, because everyone gambles on baseball now and every other sport. It's
Yeah.
just spit in the face. It's like, okay, so that's a whole other thing. But,
No, Tawny didn't do anything, guys. He was
No.
totally. Yeah.
I believe that.
I love that you just keep holding up the book.
Operation
And
Northwood.
now-
You guys heard of this one?
No.
By
Operation what?
Dude,
Operation
you started
Northwoods.
this out like this is up your wheelhouse, and I'm just sitting here confused. So
Well, these are okay. So the U.S. government was involved in several crazy conspiracies during the 50s and 60s. Operation Northwood is probably the craziest of all. In 1962, the CIA planned to stage terrorist attacks on American citizens and military targets in Miami and Washington and blame it on the Cuban government, convince the American public to wage war on Cuba.
Yeah.
The plan involved killing innocent people and soldiers, blowing up U.S. ships and Cuban refugee boats, hijacking airplanes, and planting phony evidence to implicate the Cuban government. Operation Northwood was authorized by the Joint Chiefs of Staff and presented to the Secretary of Defense, Robert McNamara, before President John F. Kennedy rejected it. So Kennedy rejected this. Remember this?
Yeah, yeah.
Of all great
totally.
things JFK is remembered for, we should be thankful that he stopped this. But
Dude, I've never heard about this.
listen,
This is crazy.
I know.
but we think about it in the context of being in 2024. How crazy is it to stage terrorist attacks? We'd call that a false flag now, right?
Yeah.
Just say
On
it.
American citizens,
Just say it. Say the
military
words.
targets.
There's 2 numbers involved.
Yeah.
In it. Just say it.
6-9.
It's close.
Close. But no cigar.
That is a number.
9/11.
Yeah.
No.
No, I mean,
But if
yeah,
you
it's
hadn't heard of
been going on.
this, I mean, it again, this is like the most depressing list ever, honestly. You guys talk about funny things that are like...
The kids are loving this.
Yeah.
Hey kids, have you heard of 9/11?
Guess who did it?
I'll say
Can
the-
you guess who did it? Please, all these images.
You guys have seen that kids.
It's all cartoon characters, and there's just George.
Have you seen?
Was it me? Jeffrey the giraffe?
Dude, have you seen the kids ministry thing? There's a dude who like got this paint like picture back in the kit that they give when they dismiss church. He's showing his wife, and he's like, "Why is our little like?" She was like young, like he's like, "Why are they coloring?" It's the Twin Towers as
Oh,
a
no.
coloring sheet.
Wow.
Yeah, guys haven't
R.I.P.
seen that.
Youth group was
No, I
lit.
have not seen that.
Oh,
That's
it was
terrible.
like a 4-year-old or something.
I like the idea they had. Future predictions. What do we think is going to happen?
Oh.
I mean, we're gonna look back
We're
on
about
a
to
lot
find
of
out
these.
who's a prophet and who's a false
Yeah.
prophet,
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
and we have
like
to
20
stone
years,
you
though.
if you
We'll
if
take you out and
lose.
stone you. Yeah, that's right. That seems like high stakes.
Great stakes.
Do you think we reach 2030 as a human race, as a planet?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do we reach it, or we're already there?
No,
Oh,
I'm saying,
wow.
is
That's
it
another
going to be
question
done?
entirely.
Like parallel dimension.
Yeah,
That's where my mind.
I'm
went.
okay with that.
It really feels like they're setting the stage for something, like a pivot,
Yeah.
and not even a pivot, a 180 to a new
A cannonball.
world thing. You know, I mean, it sounds so. I mean, I grew up with like my grandma and stuff, just like being like Revelation, the Antichrist, and like it's gonna be
99
a-
reasons Jesus
Yeah.
comes back in 99.
Yeah. But I mean, there's some truth to it.
Yeah.
And like, there's like, you look at just our atmosphere, our society, the news, what's happening in the world, and these insane natural catastrophes that are happening. You know,
Yeah.
like North Carolina, what happened in Spain recently, like that. This is wild stuff. Like, this is not a normal.
Right.
At least in my lifetime, I have not seen so much stuff. And that could be possibly because we have more access to technology and people can post whatever at any time all across the world.
Yeah.
But it seems very specific of what's happening. It seems like there's a very clear narrative that has been written. And I think something is going to happen soon. And golly, now is like the time to like truly just like understand what is true and what is not true. And like for us, it's like the simplest fact of like what is true is just Christ, you know, like,
Yeah.
and I truly believe that like the Spirit can just really give us discernment, but like you have to be in tune with what is true and not be
That's the only way to tell.
MK Ultra'd.
Well,
And-
Yeah, I think.
And even too, with everything falling apart, the Bible says He gives us a peace that goes beyond all our understanding.
Yeah.
And so the only way that peace is remarkable is if legit everything's falling apart. They're like, how is that dude okay in this chaos? And it's like, and he calls the shots. He wins in the end. I'm good.
Yeah, I think like often on our show, we kind of see how history repeats in biblical stories. So I think we will go through some sort of 10 plagues of Egypt again, where we will see sort of a series of supernatural, maybe judgments, but you know, we will always be provided with a way to survive through.
Yeah. Well, that's
through those
interesting
things.
too. That thought of just like, because your podcast with Joel, where he's talking about the 10 plagues was a representation of the 10 gods of Egypt.
Yeah.
That was, God was directly showing that he is the one God.
Right. He's showing his
showing
supremacy, his dominion over.
So like, what are the things in our society now that would be plagued as these entities,
like
dominions,
that.
you know, like, and
What
what
are-
are those,
what are our idols?
What are the plagues going to be, you know?
Yeah.
I definitely think
just TikTok influencers coming at your door.
Well, I think
SEC football.
Oh no!
SEC football getting shut down.
But you can say, you can see like Haman's gallows, right? This idea that you can hang on your own evil plan. That is sort of a universal truth.
What is a
I'm
Haman's
saying?
gallows?
It's when he was trying
Mordecai?
to... Yeah.
Yes, that's sort of Haman.
Dude, have you tracked his lineage?
Hey, hold on.
Dude, Haman goes back to like valleys of Canaan. Like, there's like, you can piece together that he's got some giant ethnicity.
There we go. If he built gallows in order to hang Mordecai.
But let's
and he hung
look at it
himself.
from like the political landscape. Like there was a lot of evidence that came out that Trump was supposed to run against Hillary, and they set that up, and they purposely squashed all the other candidates because they thought they were a shoe-in, and then next thing you know, he becomes like target number one. That's all that we've heard about for the last. And so it's like you set up this thing, you think you're going to overcome it, and then that thing ends up turning, and you end up having to deal with your. And I think that's sort of how God's justice works, is that these evil manipulative plans behind, it's like the one stone, the one rock takes down this entire Philistine empire, because it's the least likely thing that's going to bring it all down. But I think that the themes repeating is something we hear a lot on our show, is that you can't predict the future, but you can predict the future's like movie plot based on previous what's happened in the past. And so I think something's coming, and I definitely think that the Genesis 6 narrative is coming again. That is
the days of Noah.
You can become a hybrid,
like the gods.
You can become
even me.
You can upgrade, even you.
Oh, well, your dad is Bigfoot though, so you might already be there, pal.
But I think in the next decade, in our lifetime, the temptation to become a cyborg will
more
be
like God.
Yeah,
in a way, like it's just like you could be better.
Yeah,
it won't be done through genetic manipulation, or it could, but I think because we can manipulate technology in terms of wires and electricity to put that into a human, but in a biological form. So how are you going to compete in the future without like AI built into your brain and body?
It's always about like
yourself, right?
It's always about existing beyond what we're supposed to be able to exist. And like I watched the thing about Neuralink, it was like this hypothetical where it's like it could take a snapshot of consciousness, and so if it can do that, then you could literally take out the SD card and put it into another biological thing. But now
it's like that Johnny Depp movie where he like lives on in technology.
But literally, I mean, that would be like a Babel-like attempt to exist forever.
Or take the brain
Elon,
out.
could you stop it? Thank you.
No, I think
he did say he wants to do that. I saw a thing talking about like the hypothetical
No, he's
application
gonna
of
do
the
it.
technology.
I think you make a good point, Hooper. Though, like it's like where are we, right? And I think almost since Jesus was crucified and raised from the dead, people have thought they were in the end times. It's kind of where I always go back to. Like, if you thought the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem and the raising of Jerusalem and Rome owning the known world, you would think that was near the end. If you were near Krakatoa in 1883,
But in cycles, it was.
Listen, I mean, like you have a
technically.
volcano in 1883 that blacks out the sun for 300,000 square miles for weeks. You'd think this is the apocalypse.
Yeah.
So if you're during World War I, the Great War, where millions upon millions of men die more than ever in recorded history, you think this is the end. World War II, you have an Antichrist figure in Hitler who was trying to take over the known world. You'd be like, this is Armageddon.
I think the one key factor for me, because I always say that to people, or they're like, well, what about everyone throughout history?
Sure.
They always think it's the end.
Yeah.
The one key factor in my brain that I can't shake is the whole story of the red heifers, the rebuilding of the third temple, that, well, we may have an Ark of the Covenant. We have a replica of the Ark of the Covenant right now in Israel.
Yeah.
I was also at Trump's house for 8 months. That's another story.
Well, that's another story.
That's interesting. He was just melting Nazis everywhere.
Yeah.
But that factor in and of itself is just like, to me, I'm just like, it could be a year from now. It could be 100 years from now. But it really feels like there is like a movement happening right now.
Also, when has there ever been technology like we have, like as far as like internet connection, like all that's like that's as far as we know, never happened in history. So that seems like almost a definitive, like in our era, that stands out.
Well, eventually the citizens can't rise up and destroy. The technology is so great that they can't rise up and conquer their
Terminator
and turn down the.
I saw that movie.
Never seen.
Well,
the
Matrix. Empire is eventually gets to, impenetrable. You know, you can't stop it. They can just mow down. If you don't go along with it, you're done. But I think that the original temptations of Genesis 6 are going to happen again, and I think it's the difference between something that is true, but it's also a truth. Right, so if you think about, like Jordan Peterson talks a lot about this, like the Bible is a different kind of true. It is the foundation which all truth is built upon. So you can't know if anything's actually true unless you go back to the original source of what is true. And so the story of, the prodigal son is not only, it's a type of truth. It is true in the sense that the younger son is jealous of his older brother and doesn't like his dad. That is a truth that we've all experienced in family dynamics. But it is also a truth in the sense that, there's going to become a time when the younger sibling comes back into the family of God, that something is, we're going to go back, and we saw that in history, and just the same as like Jonah and the whale is a truth that, like, for 3 days, this guy that's supposed to liberate is stuck in darkness. What does that sound like? There's these truths that kind of repeat. So Revelation is true in the sense that it continues to happen, but there will be, I think, a final movie, a final revelation, a final cycle. So people go, well, it already happened. No, it keeps happening over and over and over again, and the circle and the circle. And so I think what you're describing is that there's going to be a final showdown with the dragon. You're going to pull out.
Yeah.
But all to the point, though, like a Hooper was saying, like, I think the end, we're at a point where now we can remove our humanity, which is exactly a Genesis 6 days of Noah's. I don't think we've ever reached that point where we can, like, literally alter our genome genetically and technologically to become, would you consider superhuman, human 2.0, or not human, right?
Or at 7-Eleven, do it at the corner store.
This is the seed war, Gen 6, right? Is that the removal of it. Not that whole point there was to remove a pathway for the Messiah from Genesis 3. But in this point now, it feels a lot more like Revelation, where the people will beg for death and it will not come for them.
Yeah. So you're finally, your consciousness is uploaded into AI, or AI is, you're always on the internet, right? So then suddenly at some point they can flash
memeing all day long.
They can flash whatever they want into your brain. Because right now you have the ability, you still have control.
Yeah.
You can still put the phone down. You can turn on. You can pull the plug, and you can go back to being just a regular human.
But now they're communicating through dreams.
Yeah, did you see that?
Really?
Like they have a company that communicated one word through a lucid dream. Yeah. 2 different people, 2 different rooms. And so it's like, what is that?
They're buzzing into your dreams.
What does that mean?
There's a whole episode there on that. That's,
that's just
your
that's
dreams
just
aren't
the
even
tip of
safe.
the iceberg at this point. Like it's going to be, you're going to be having conversations. This is going to be a life that you can live.
Here's a question for each of you: when do you go too far? When can you escape Pleasure Island and not be completely turned into a donkey? When does it happen? When's the moment? Where's
like
technology?
when do you say no? What's the line?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that was what I wanted to talk about a little bit, was just like, it talks about like in the end that there's going to be so many that are deceived. And I think the church in general, I'd probably mainly say like the American church, they're very ignorant with that. They're like, they've already painted in their picture, and maybe that's through books and movies and stuff, like, this is what the Antichrist is going to look like. This is exactly what the end times are going to look like.
And you're talking about when people are being decepted, it's like these are Christians. These are believers who are being decepted.
I really believe that there's going to be this great deception to the church, and they will have no idea because they're going to be numb to everything. And
Also,
so,
like, how convincing is it going to be?
Yeah.
Like, what is it going to, like, what is that going to look like where it's so convincing, so many people, like, just say, yeah, this is it.
My brain
this is worth
I have this whole web of stuff, but like, I mean, MK Ultra and stuff, like they do it little by little. Like, they just
it's a
do
slow
this,
drip.
that.
It's a drip.
And so it's not going to be for us, like when we experience whatever's going to happen, it's going to be like, boom, there's this guy on TV and he's like, I'm Jesus.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't think it's going to be like that. I think it's going to be
Yeah.
a little trickle stuff. And it's going to numb and blind a lot of Christians. And what was your original question?
Like,
Where's the line?
What's a bridge
Where's
too
the
far?
line?
line? Yeah, when
what's
do
a bridge
you-
too far?
I think
I
that's
thi-
solely based off like you truly have to be in God's word and truly have or pray for like God to give you discernment about things.
yeah.
And I think that's the only way, because
Do
otherwise,
you think it's going to come
just-
through like a microchip? Do you think it's going to come through an actual person or a alien?
I think
or-
it's going to come through a person. I think it's, but that's what I think. I don't think it's going to be one thing. I think it's going to be multiple things.
Yeah.
If not hundreds of things that could all add up into
Well, that's
one
even
great
scarier.
deception.
Let's
Like, what
let's
is
reverse
que-
engineer this conversation. It will come with a moral, ethical choice, right?
Yes.
We know whatever it will, and there will be some sort of staged event.
Mm-hmm.
So you will have to choose. You will think you were doing the moral choice, and then they will
or a better choice
cause
for you, like,
everyone.
because it's gonna be more tempting to like.
Yeah.
It could be like promising a better life. It could be.
Yeah.
This
And
is
then
a
they'll-
cure.
and then there will be a solution. So Satan,
Yeah.
the original one, was like, "Here, no, this isn't. This is what you should do. This is the moral. This is the better moral choice, right?" And then ultimately, it was slavery. So the fourth part of that is we will all be enslaved. So you will have you'll be presented with an ethical choice. There will be a staged reason why you have to make the choice. They will present the solution, and the solution will ultimately be slavery.
Yeah.
And I think that can come in 1,000 different ways in the future. But I think those four things, we can look at the Bible, we can apply that, and we can see this is kind of how they always deceive people. Is like, no, do the moral thing.
But like,
Yeah.
You
We're
know?
gonna take care of you.
Yeah, we're going to take care
Just
of you.
say that you're going to agree to our rules.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then those rules change.
Yeah.
And then down the line, it's just a whole lot tougher. And you're like, I've dug myself quite a hole. Like and they're stuck.
But like, think about the concept of making a choice, though. Like, in the moment, you do make a decision when
Yeah.
presented with the problem, but the decision you made is knit by a web of causality. And so I think the choice we ultimately make is actually birthed of decisions we make day by day by day by day. And so this great deception, which can have like this catalyst or whatever, I think the catalyst, in whichever way we go on that, whatever you believe, we can all agree that the decisions we make leading up to this in just normal day-to-day life have tremendous, incomparable impact on where we end up and arrive. Like, you look at the precedent scripture with like Pharaoh hardening his own heart through this sequence of events.
Yeah.
You look at the path people are on is so rarely like just a black and white A-B. It's like a series, a spectrum of,
Gray.
white, gray, black. And
It's
so
almost like 50 Shades of it or something, like
Oh,
70
wow.
shades.
At least
100
50,
shades.
It's not that erotic, but close.
Yeah, it's just a lot of gray.
it might be.
It could be. Actually, could be. Yeah.
I would say if worse comes to worse, you just invest in Bowflex.
That's the best advice. That's what
Chuck
we want to
Norris'
leave you
comment.
guys with.
This
That's a wise
podcast is
move,
brought to you and
actually.
powered by
I'll tell you a wise
Bowflex.
move.
Yeah, we owe
Doge.
everything to Bowflex,
What
honestly.
about Body by Jake? You're not endorsing that one.
Don't even start.
No,
don't get me started on Jake.
We're Bowflex guys.
We're Bowflex boys.
Not me.
Love it.
Dogecoin.
Yuck.
Dogecoin.
Dude, I'm back in.
But I think like seeing the cycle, seeing the circle, seeing the idea that we had a awesome time with you guys at BlurryCon, and
Same.
it was an incredible experience because we got to watch sort of all these speakers come and sort of give messages that like intertwined with each other. And I think one of the main things was that that Doug Van Dorn presented is that Jesus started his miracles and he went in a big circle based on where he was geographically. So he starts at the mountain and he ends at the mountain.
Oh, cool.
And then
Wow.
he goes all the way in this loop. And so ultimately, I think people go, well, what's our hope? Who do we put our trust in? And I think that's why Jesus is always described as the King of Kings, because
Yeah.
there are higher principalities and powers who I think are behind these nefarious things. And you could realize that, like, it's like C.S. Lewis, and there's deeper magic. So they think this is the plot. This is the thing that's going to kind of bring down humanity, but ultimately built into human DNA is sort of a rescue plan. So I think something, being an image of God himself, is very important. This conversation is like, you have to be careful about what, I'm distracted, but you have to be careful about, if you don't know what you're created, what image you have, then you have, it's almost like with kids and being fathers, you start to realize like family is different. Like when you were part of the bloodline, and if you don't realize that you are the bloodline,
there's so
of God
much
himself.
like comfort in that, and like that's the whole thing. This whole podcast was very scary for a lot of people probably, but like that we should not have fear. Like it's if you do have fear, that's okay, because that's a pretty natural reaction to everything we talked about. But like the spirit of fear is not the spirit of God, and like we just need to rest in the fact that we are we're the bloodline of Christ. You know, like if you accept Christ, you are now in the bloodline, and that's the most secure thing ever.
You're in the family,
which is a very practical way of looking at things, which is a very
We're pretty
physical,
practical, pretty simple,
rational,
simple
down
guys,
to earth.
A couple Florida men down here.
Yeah,
simple.
Simple
kind of man.
Simple, maybe not. Simple kind of man. Yeah. Leonard Skinner, you knew it,
dude. Every time we do a podcast with you guys, we could literally do like a 6-hour podcast.
So here's what I was thinking, Nate. I was asking
gonna-
Dan if he's out of time, he's going to check. So it's just sort of this will be cut out, but we should roll Blurry After Dark and do 20 minutes with these guys behind the paywall.
And now,
this is our plan. We haven't done any of this yet. This would be the first, but we had this idea to do kind of like you guys do. Here's this next segment, but our Blurry After Dark is like get to know our guests on sort of in a context outside of your expertise. So it'd be like, maybe we do like, how did Ninja start? Like, and what do you guys like to do that isn't recorded to this? Like, you know, I know Andrew likes to surf and kind of like a more personal,
like Patreon. After show.
What do we want to close out this pod?
That's what I was going to say.
But I just want to put that in there because unless
Should we come back
Dan
for a
tells us
fake
we've
laugh?
got time for it, then we can do it.
Yeah,
we all fake laugh and then
You
like.
what?
All right, ready?
Anyway, guys.
All right, here's what I want. Last question. Like, transhumanism. How do you think it's going to happen? What's going to put you into the Matrix?
That
the
Neuralink.
There it is.
I
So
think
you think
that's
it's
the first
technology,
step.
wires, and brain implants?
Because I think it's
Josh,
it's
that's a
this
good-
ancient
that's-
technology, man.
You got
we talk about
$50
technology.
on it though. You didn't know that, and then
I do, yeah.
you have to compete against your partner.
I've
there.
never thought about this question in my life,
Yeah,
but
how?
if you had asked me, if it's going to be a lot of people deceived, it's going to be super simple. So it's like a car wash. Just drive through here, say yes, check the box that you're willing to have your mind just completely
So
dumped. Whatever.
surgery,
car wash.
I mean, did you hear
Car
what
wash.
Elon talked about? It's going to be the most affordable thing ever, and it'll take 5 minutes to do this surgery.
Everyone's going to do it.
Andrew?
So many people are going to do it.
The fact that it can be
Maybe not 5 minutes. But let's call
What do you think,
it 15
Andrew?
minutes.
I mean, the fact that
It's
you
a
can
van.
he said
disconnect
really
it.
fast.
It's just a quick van that pulls up real quick.
just like a ceramic coating on your vehicle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's really, he's trying to make it so affordable. Like, it's like anyone can do it.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm going to get it
And-
for my
And
kids.
Andrew, what do you think?
Yeah, just the fact that it can be disconnected and reconnected elsewhere seems like it's the most logical current technology we have to go all in.
Wow.
Don't
Am I
put the
am I-
chips in your brain, people.
It's like,
Am I gonna be
it's like
plugging
Taking
on-
Back Sunday. It's just
Well,
say yes, say yes, say yes.
And I
right?
only
To
say that
charge everything.
because I think at the Tower of Babel, there's evidence to suggest that they were doing non-invasive surgery. They were doing something physical, but they were conjuring sort of a genetic change. And this is one of the debates that rages on our show is how did the giants come back after the flood?
Yeah.
And I think they had some sort of occultic technology, which we are now, using sort of wires, machinery to bring about this outcome that we want. But I think you can go another route. You can literally summon the demon and that can change you physically. And that those two kind of coming together, I think, is how humanity will
like a
ultimately be
skinwalker.
enslaved. But
You guys are
appreciate you
scary.
guys.
You guys scare me.
Golly.
Hey,
That's why I've had to pee so
I know.
much.
It's been
honestly.
heavy in the studio. Our first episode in with our
No,
guest
this
was
is really good.
transhumanism.
It's so
and-
fun.
So
We
thank
love
you guys.
I feel like
Give it
I'm
up.
Congrats, guys. BlurryCon 2, new studio.
Yeah,
Thanks
man.
for letting us be a guest.
I
We love you
guys.
all
For
so
sure.
much.
So good to hang, man. So good to hang. And now we're gonna cut to our interview after Blurry Creatures, which is we're calling Blurry After Dark, where we're gonna get a chance to talk to our guests and learn a little about them more on a personal level, less about their expertise. And your expertises are wide. Let's be honest. You have experts in many things. So we're gonna tread onto some different topics, and we're gonna do it with our,
Andy will be shirtless.
Yeah, we're gonna do it with our friends
Yes,
from
I will
Ninjas or
be.
Butterflies. So this will be available for members. So in order to watch this, you must be a member. So if you are not a member, blurrycreatures.com/members, join up and you can watch this Blurry After Dark episode with our good friends Ninjas or Butterflies.
Or go to patreon.com/ninjas or butterflies to watch what we do.
Ooh.
Can we do that?
Yeah, with your feet, absolutely.
With your
It's too late. We already did it. So
with your feet.
With our feet.
A lot of feet tricks and pics. Feet
Hello.
tricks and pics behind the paywall.
Can neither confirm or deny that.
Thanks, dudes. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for
Hey,
having
shout out
us.
CIA. We're just
love you,
kidding
bro.
about everything that we talked about.
That was all a joke.
Also, the song about the Clintons, that was not you.
That was how it
Hillary.
worked.
Bill, we know you're watching. We apologize.
It's our neighbors, the Clintons.
Hey, a
right?
website told me
Yeah,
the
yeah.
CIA did all that. I don't know. If it's
Ninjas.
the
Yeah.
website.
Ah,
All right.
butterflies.
We love you guys.
Did I say ninja? I meant
The butterfly is no doubt one of God's most beautiful creations.
does it empty your mind?
You learn martial arts! Ninja!